Hey everybody, I'm Evan Hammonds for Bloodhorse.com. Welcome to After the Wire. This week we had the last two major preps, the Toyota Bluegrass Stakes over Polytrack at Keeneland and the Arkansas Derby over the Dirt Oval at Oaklawn Park. Now oddly enough, the outcome of these races had very little to do with the list of graded stakes earners, which is the determining factor to get into the gate for the Kentucky Derby on May 5th. First, let's discuss the Toyota Bluegrass. And personally, I'm going to stay away from the color blue and the drama involved in whether champion Hanson's tail was blue or bleached out back to white for the race. Horses race in pom-poms and with colored rubber bands in their manes. Horses have patterns brushed into their flanks. Where does one racetrack or racing authority draw the line? I don't see what the big deal is. If an owner wants to dye his horse's mane and or tail, so what? My biggest concern with the race was why jockey Ramon Dominguez didn't try to take back and raid Hanson instead of having him on the lead, setting back-to-back quarters of 23 and 23 and 2. Now Dominguez said his horse didn't feel like a runaway train, but this was a prep for the big one. Now he had raided, sort of, in the Gotham, and I thought the key here was to sit back in this big 13-horse field. Now as soon as he took the lead around the first bend, I thought regardless of whether he wins or not, I don't think he's going to get out of this race what he needed to get out of it, which was some more experience. Doulahan, on the other hand, got a valuable lesson in the Bluegrass under veteran jockey Kent DeSormo, who took him back and looked like he was working really hard to keep him back in the early part of the race. Now, Doulahan caught 3 breaks in the race. While hugging the rail, he was able to get past not one, but 2 horses while traveling around the bend. Then, as he came off the rail, slightly a little bit turning for home, he found a seam as How Great and Midnight Crooner parted ways. Now from there, Doulahan looked like a complete beast down the lane, just as he was at Keeneland last year in the Dixiana Breeders' Futurity. The final eighth for the Bluegrass was run in a crisp 12 and 2. Now make no mistake about it, it was a 2-horse race as it was 2.5 lengths back to Gung Ho in third. Now the top 2 should be forces to reckon with at Churchill Downs. Hanson won the Breeders' Cup Juvenile there last year, but the additional 8th is a question mark. For Doulahan, there are no question marks about his pedigree. He's a half-brother to 2009 Derby winner Mind That Bird, but questions about his ability to handle a dirt surface abound. He's made only 3 starts on the main track, all coming at Churchill Downs, and the closest he's gotten to the winner was the 6 lengths last year in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. On the other hand, Churchill Downs is Dale Roman's backyard, and Dale will do everything in his power to get his colt ready. The colt's getting good at the right time, and he's one to fear. Now another one to fear, after watching the Arkansas Derby, is Ahmed Zayed's Bodemeister. I don't think there's a whole lot to say here other than wow. Bodemeister took over from the beginning, tore through some tough early fractions of 23 flat and 23 and 2, and then had a third quarter of 24 and 4. He still had plenty left in the tank to leave his rivals in the dust. Now second was stablemate Secret Circle, who had gotten past the mile test. He'd gotten past the mile in the 16th test, but he didn't pass the mile in an 8th test on Saturday. Now while he has plenty of graded earnings, I'd be really surprised to see him in the entry box for the Derby. Third place runner Sabercat will advance to Churchill Downs for Winchell Thoroughbreds and trainer Steve Asmussen. And while he did move forward from his modest effort in the Rebel, he was still 9.5 lengths behind the winner and would be considered an outsider under the Twin Spires. Now, I'm not going to take anything away from the winner because he did beat all comers and it was a large field, but this field really didn't have the depth that we've seen in some of the more recent editions of the Arkansas Derby. Prior to this year, that race at Oaklawn was the prep as far as talent from top to bottom. While his performance was visually impressive, Bodemeister has several issues to address before the Derby. The biggest one is experience. He's only made 4 starts and didn't begin his racing career until January, something akin to Curlin back in 2009. Now, in 2009, that experience did stop Curlin in the Derby, but then again, he did go on to win back-to-back Horse of the Year titles. Bodemeister, who's trained by 3-time Derby winner Bob Baffert, is a son of Empire Maker who is now getting stakes winners in bunches since being sold to Japan. And he has plenty of black type on the dam side. He's out of a graded stakes winner. He was also out of a graded stakes winner. It's the yin and yang of experience versus class. It's been an exciting run up to the Triple Crown. We've got next week's Coolmore Lexington to go. And I'll have to say this year's group looks about as strong as I've seen in some time. Got Union Rags, Gemologist, I'll Have Another, Creative Cause, Hanson, Doulahan, and now Bodemeister. We can't wait to get to Churchill Downs in a couple of weeks. Now before we go, I want to say a quick little note about Bob Baffert. This weekend he was the king of hot springs. The Hall of Famer sent 6 horses from his California base to Oaklawn for their Festival of the South. He won the Fantasy with Mama Kimbo and ran 1-2 in the Derby with another 2nd and 3rd. Way to go, Bob. So, hope you've enjoyed this week's edition of After the Wire. For bloodhorse.com, I'm Evan Hammonds. Thanks for watching.